So appreciate the opportunity to present before this audience, definitely a captive audience, so that makes it a lot more interesting. I'm sure as a way of background, I'm a serial entrepreneur based in Silicon Valley. I founded a few companies, 2 of them have gone public. One of my more recent companies is a company called Responses, which is one of the early leaders in email marketing and is now part of the Oracle Marketing Cloud. I'm sure social is top share of mind for most publishers. We heard Dennis Letwack talk about a change in Facebook algorithm that suddenly drove down the whole traffic referral from Facebook. Well, that's not good. So what I'm hoping to do with this presentation is intrigue you with a technology solution where you can actually co-opt social to help you drive audience engagement and improve your audience traffic. Sure, all of you are going through this whirlwind of change because of what is happening in terms of the media industry. You have seen that content is being consumed more and more on mobile devices. You're seeing that referrals are happening more and more from social, and you're seeing that your revenue models are changing fundamentally. So what if we could approach it with a very different idea? Our approach is saying that make social part of your partner and really engage social in an organic fashion so that you can drive a lot more traffic and a lot more engagement. So you already know that a lot of your content is getting driven by social. So how do you essentially start leveraging the news feed, which Facebook controls, to start working on your behalf? How do you get more of your organic content on social? And very importantly, how do you identify your top social influencers so that you essentially can claim your visitors back from social? These are your visitors. You need to own them from a social point of view and really get better insights into how we can use social for marketing and monetization. Today, most publishers have a generic share solution. I'm sure all of you have that on your web pages. The trouble is that more and more visitors tend to gleam over these solutions, and they may engage once a couple of times, but really they're not very effective in driving a lot of social sharing. The biggest issue for you as a publisher is your audience is totally opaque. You do not know who these social influencers are. You know that someone came and shared a page on Facebook. You do not know whether that person has got 5 followers or 5,000 followers. So really, how do you grab social back again? That's where we come up with our whole engage social smart share solution. Very simple idea. Now, one of the key points made in the earlier talks was make your solution easy to implement, make it very lightweight in terms of how it gets integrated, understand the fact that you may need to be replaced, and we do, and also make it easy to try out. So when we're introducing a smart social share solution where at a very simple level, we have a very light footprint share widget that engages visitors as they come to your pages and gets them to share more. It is truly complementary with your existing share solution, and you can brand it as one of your share buttons, and in a sense, use it as a basic foothold to create a social community of users. So the whole focus in how do you create a community of social influencers? And it's all done by this very lightweight widget that gets added with 3 lines of script code onto a page and automatically connects up with the users, creates the social profiles. So how does this work? At a very simple level, what happens is that you have a branded button. In this case, it's a timed like share button that is available on the page. A user clicks on the share button, and that immediately pops up a share wizard. The share widget has information about the page that the user has been looking at, grabs all the meta information, but most importantly, it connects up into multiple social networks. So it's connected up into the social networks that you decide to deploy as part of your social sharing strategy. It collects the user's comments, is intelligent enough to deal with the fact that certain networks have reduced sizes of comment, like in a Twitter, is able to collect all this information, and with a single click, the user can share the content onto multiple networks. But it doesn't stop there. The second part of what we do is we actually engage the user right at the point of sharing and saying, if you shared this piece of content, you might also be interested in sharing more content. So we actually use a machine language algorithm to determine what other pieces of content from your site that are actually starting to trend socially that you want to present the user so that you can now engage the visitor to share more. You can also surface new content which have been shared by current new users so that you actually are able to see a mix of trending content as well as new content. The third aspect of this is that you can also place native ads in the middle of the content stream and anchor those native ads so that you can engage the user in the context of the sharing. A typical visitor can actually click on any of these articles, content pieces, and they actually in the same browser window, they're able to view and engage with the content. And they can also click on the little share icon, and they can also share this. So what you're getting right now is the ability to not only engage the visitor with share on more networks, but to share more content as part of one session. The third part of what we do is we gamify the whole process. So immediately we give the visitor a feedback in terms of how well the sharing has been working, what has been working, what kind of clicks, likes, shares have occurred to what they've posted on social media. We also create a leaderboard. So we're scoring all the influencers who are coming to your site, and we're creating a leaderboard, and we tell the current visitor what his score is compared to the top 10 leaders on the leaderboard. We also have a mechanism where we're able to show what's a rising star of people who have suddenly started sharing. And so there's a very big, important gamification process where you're not only trying to be the leaderboard, you're trying to be a rising star and start engaging with your content with more and more of the sharing. The big benefit to you as a publisher is, for the first time, you have total social identity of the visitors coming to your site. We integrate the social identity across the social networks, give you a composite identity, and we are integrated that as part of the whole leaderboard system that we have. So you are not only identifying your social influencers, you're ranking who are your top social influencers. In a sense, you're connecting sort of a mini social graph as what I did, described in an earlier talk. We also provide a full-scale dashboard where you can see daily analytic trend overviews. So you see on a continuous basis what is happening in terms of organic sharing. So you get a live dashboard into what's happening. You're seeing your top influencers. You can see whether your top influencers are active, how long they've been inactive, etc. You also have the ability to track visitor sentiments. So as they share the content on their social media, we are able to track the first level sentiment, and you're able to now get a very good feel of how people are reacting to the content that as they're sharing on social media, which you never had before. And the fourth piece is that we actually score the content with the same kind of scoring system that we score the influencers. So suddenly you're able to rank, and suddenly you can see something spiking. And we have seen that the customers, when they start seeing some spiking content, they email me to say, oh yeah, here's this piece of content that is really going viral. And they may decide to show more of that content or do additional stories around that content. So the very important part of it is 80% of consumption is on mobile. We are entirely mobile friendly. We come with a mobile first approach. So very important, someone sees your post on a Facebook timeline, they click on it, they're within your branded site, within your page, they're able to look at the article, they click on the share button. Again, for your demonstration purposes, I showed a lot more share buttons, but in reality you might have only one of your branded buttons. They click on the button, immediately the widget pops up in the context of the mobile viewer, and we have done a lot to make it really mobile responsive. And now what has happened is that the user is engaged, is able to share on multiple networks. If you have gone through a similar experience on mobile, you'll see that when you click on a Twitter button, you'll end up going to the Twitter application. Suddenly you have lost control of that particular visitor who's on your branded site is now gone to some other site. Here the entire experience is within your site, And not only are they able to share across multiple networks, they're actually engaging more content. As they switch to trending, they click on an article, they'll see that article in the context of the same mobile browser window. So you're always retaining control of that visitor as they go into your site. So in summary, what we have is we are really taking an approach of engaging visitors to join the community and share more. 50% of visit clicks result in a share identified by user. We see a lot more shares across networks. Very importantly, what happens is that the top influencers on your site are identified and ranked by influence score, which makes it very interesting because now the influencers are identified. You can put various kinds of marketing programs because these are the people essentially who are going to help spread the news. So in a sense, in a very simple way, what you're doing is you're engaging your visitors who are your asset, and you're engaging them to spread the word, and you could potentially define various kinds of programs to reward those visitors. You also have a very basic measure we call the K factor of what is the lift and virality from social, which you never had before. Previously, you sort of guessed what was happening, but now we give you an accurate measure in terms of what is the lift and virality from social sharing. And another very important point, the point that made by Jeff yesterday, and again in the survey which was done earlier, email is sort of a very important product. Email is sort of a core strategy. It is the number one driver of traffic. Well, this integrates very well because you can now identify your social influencers and link them into email, and you can actually run email marketing programs. So you can run a program where saying, I want to identify my top 20 social influencers, and I want to run an email marketing program where I'm reaching out to them. You might also say that I want to reach out in a very specific way with some specific incentive to my top social influencer who has not come in and shared anything the last 5 days. So you have a variety of flexible. So this totally can be integrated in with an email marketing program because we have consolidated social identities and we have the ability to also add email into the social identity. The other thing is that all the traffic that is generated through the system is fully attributable. So you can actually see what kind of traffic is generated through this whole social sharing program. So our whole approach comes back to getting back to what we started with. Embrace social. Get your visitors to be part of your extended social community and become your social ambassadors and effectively spread the word. I consciously don't want to go through a whole demo here, but feel free to catch me. I can show you a very simple demo on my phone. I can show it on iPad. System is very live, fully integratable very easily. We actually are a very early stage company, so we just launched this. We tested this for 6 months with the publisher to make sure that all the kinks are out of the system. We're now actually actively talking to publishers. We're getting some pilots started, and we saw this as a very timely opportunity to come and meet with a lot of you and talk to you about how this can be integrated. Very easy to integrate. Very lightweight in terms of the impact on your existing system, easy to try out, and immediately you'll start seeing the results and the metrics from this. So very simply, a Silicon Valley based company, early stage, but the team has had a lot of experience with building highly scalable systems. As I mentioned, Responses was one of the leaders in email marketing. And so coming with a lot of background in building highly scalable systems. So with that, thank you all for the opportunity and open to any kind of questions.
So what is the use of the branded social icon? Because I think most people will not actually click on it because they don't know what it is.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So part of it is, the way we suggest is, there are 3 ways you can go about it. One is, you can add an additional button into your in addition to your existing share buttons, but part of it is that you also try to spread the word within your user community to tell them about the fact that we are creating I as a publisher am creating a social community of users. So here is a new technology that we have, and we are actually going to show you who are all the top leaderboards. Now, one of the other pieces of component we have is we actually have a leaderboard that you can put right on a home page and say, join a social community program. And in that leaderboard, we actually will identify all the top influencers. And there's if there's a learn more, we can go to video. So there's a little initial marketing that you have to encourage the audience to know about this button. Now, we also have the capability to hijack the existing buttons. So you actually can have it so that when you click on, and there are no issues about that, that if you click on a Facebook button, we can show our widget with the Facebook box checked off, so that if you want to just share on Facebook, you can do that. What we find is this, that typically once you start, people start identifying with this, it's a lot more easier for them to start using this as opposed to using an individual button. Now, there are also other advantages, like if you click a Twitter button, most pages, you don't see any images, you don't see things, you just see a text. Okay? Here, you actually see the full richness. We actually post on Twitter with the full richness of the image and everything else. So there are advantages from an impact point of view, but there is definitely no question about it. We always advise publisher to go through an initial thing of promoting this concept and saying, we are starting a social community, be part of the social community.
So that actually means the users actually need to know about, so you actually have to think about your user engagement time too.
Yes,
but that's an additional cost that we have to consider, isn't it?
Right, but what can also happen is this, when you'll see that some number of people will click on it, even when they click on it without knowing anything about it, you'll immediately see the share, you'll see everything is working, trending, everything else is working out there. So there's also a factor that's why we said put a branded button out there, because there's always going to be a certain number of people who are going to click on the branded button.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. The analytics part,
Sure.
How different it is from getting from a competitor product like SumoMe or Google Analytics and stuff?
Sure. Okay. So that's a good question. The reason we are able to get a lot more insight of analytics is because we are actually connecting into the social network APIs and content. So what happens is we are not getting after the fact analytics. We are actually getting the analytics on an individual basis. When someone posts on social media, we are grabbing the analytics from that post, and we actually continually going back and updating the analytics. So the analytics that we have is very different from the analytics you get from Google. You will get Google Analytics, and we support that through the UTM code so they can attribute traffic. But the analytics we have is actually saying that from these shares, you got this amount of clicks, this amount of secondary shares, this amount of likes, this amount of comments. So we're actually able to track what kind of engagement that is happening on social, which you cannot do on things like Facebook, because you can only have it on your own account. You cannot have it on other people's account. Here we are able to grab the analytics across all the social influencers who are visitors to your site.